And two email encryption services, Silent Mail and LavaBit, are making headlines again, but this time it's not because they've shut down their operations, but rather because they're starting a new one. The two companies are now joining forces to create easy-to-use, snoop-proof email for everyone. The service is called the Dark Mail Alliance, and it's expected to launch in 2014. The project involves creating an open-source protocol that will give control of encryption to individual users, meaning email services couldn't possibly be compelled to provide unencrypted user data to the government. Now, you may remember that that's exactly what happened in the case of LavaBit. The company, which was the email provider used by Edward Snowden, shut down its operation in a bid to resist surveillance. Silent Circle, which was providing a similar service, then followed suit for fear that it would be required to do the same. Now, Mike Janke, the CEO of Silent Circle, had this to say about the new joint venture. Quote, "We believe email is fundamentally broken in its current architecture. This is an opportunity to create a new email service where the keys are created on the device and only the user can decrypt it." So here to break down how this will work and what kind of precedent it might set, I'm joined by RT web producer Andrew Blake. Andrew, thanks for being here. Tell me a little bit more about this new venture, Dark Mail Alliance. How is it going to work?
Okay, well, you pretty much hit the nail on the head, and we still have a lot of stuff to learn. It's going to be a few weeks before they release a white paper, and people are actually just finding out about it literally this week. But essentially what it would do, in theory, was create a whole new sort of protocol. Now, like email, we've been using that for decades. There's been minor changes here and there over the course of several years, and it has become more secure as the technology to encrypt and decrypt has allowed that to happen. At the same time, however, as you just heard from Mr. Janke, that a lot of people who are very involved in the industry, including representatives from LavaBit and Silent Circle, believe that it is no longer a form of communication that can be trusted. And so what Dark Mail would do is it would install a new sort of protocol. Pretty much think of it as email 3.0, they're saying. Let's have a whole new structure of being able to transmit and receive messages, just like email, same inboxes, same folders and stuff like that. But everything is going to be encrypted in multiple ways and multiple levels. And the key here is something called perfect forward secrecy. Now, so right now, the way things are transmitted over the internet securely is through a standard called HTTPS. Now, when you log on to like your Gmail, your bank or something, you see that little lock icon at the top of your screen. That means that everything there is being secured through something called SSL, and this is really long and boring, so I'm just going to cut myself off there. But I'll tell you that that's really secure, but once that single key is compromised, all of the data itself is compromised. What this would do would be, it would allow the individual user, the individual person on a smartphone or on their laptop, to decode the messages using something that only they are aware of, and the information would never be stored on servers unless it's fully encrypted. And even in that case, the email administrators, the dark mail people, or whomever they've licensed, or whomever is taking care of this open source code, they can't even access this information. It's going to be just nothing but a mess, and it would really be the most secure way possible of sending and receiving emails.
So it would definitely give the user, more control over their information. But doesn't it depend on companies signing on as well? Now, how does that work?
Well, in theory, companies like Google and Yahoo and Microsoft will adopt the dark mail protocol. And the people behind this company say, well, in 3 or 4 years, maybe some of the bigger names will actually sign on, and they'll be using our infrastructure, and their users will be able to send emails to one another that's most secure it's ever been. But are those companies necessarily going to sign on? That's a really difficult question, because those companies right now are making all of their money off of their users. Now, Gmail is awesome for sending emails, but if you're concerned about privacy, it's absolutely horrible. The reason these services are free is because they are able to peruse your content and target you with ads and sell it to third parties and make a buck invading your privacy. And that's exactly why it's free. So are people going to actually pay for a service that's going to be maybe not as convenient?
Well, I'm curious. I mean, how much should we expect something like that to be? I mean,
like price-wise?
Yeah, price-wise.
There's actually a study from, I think, 2011 that said that just initiating perfect forward secrecy, just that extra step of being able to get information decoded and encoded one more extra time over, costs something like an extra 15% over the cost of sending a traditional message over the internet. So that might not seem like much, but think about when you have billions and billions of messages going back and forth every single day.
Adds up.
Especially through conduits like Google and Yahoo.
You know, I don't have a whole lot of time left, but I want to ask you, the CEO of Silent Circle, Mike Janke, said this. He said, our vision is 3 or 4 years from now that this will become email 3.0, the way the majority of internet users use email. Do you think, is that a long shot, or with
it might have been a long shot 3 or 4 months ago, but now, especially with the revelations we've seen just this week about how the NSA isn't cooperating just with companies by having front door access to their information. We heard all about Prism and Upstream a few months ago. What we saw with the latest revelations is that the NSA and the GCHQ are actually illegally, without authorization, tapping into private communications, and as more and more people become aware, they're going to realize nothing is secure. And we might see that.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for breaking that down for us.
I tried.
RT Web producer Andrew Blake. Thanks.